they're all growing in a clump,
Yeah.
they're not going to have enough space to get big.
Oh yeah.
So what we can do is we can thin them.
Oh.
And since we're going to take ones that we want to eat, you want to look for the biggest one.
Here's a big one. Here's what
you want. There is a big one, and it's all by itself. So let's leave it for right now. But find the biggest one in this clump and thin it out. And same here. Like maybe take the like that. Look at that one. Perfect. The project grandiose name is the Skyline Habitat Restoration and Garden Project, which kind of covers that we were one. It really started because we had a slope down by the entrance of the school that was covered in ivy, and we'd start an after-school club, and they wanted to do something, and that was a natural thing to try to take out that ivy. And it turned into a giant project, which actually turned into this project. The goals are to really make the landscape serve the community and the school, and then also the wildlife that's already here.
Over that bucket. I saw it came out.
You can turn anything into an educational opportunity, so really, I think that really as we go about the project from here on in, it's how to meet all of those other goals through the lens of how can we use them so kids understand the place, and then also how they can take care of the land.
How's that one doing? That one looks a little better.
Yuki's in the sand.
Oh, here's another part too.
Sand.
Okay, so what I wanted to show you guys was this clump of grass right here. Looks like we forgot to weed, right? Well, that's exactly what did happen. We had this big care day where the church and a lot of community members came, and we cleaned the beds. We forgot this clump, but what do you know Carol Hallett?
Yeah.
So she's a wildlife biologist, and what she was actually saying, we can leave this and designate this as snake habitat.
Yeah.
And it's also butterfly habitat. A lot of times we think of weeds as, or rather grass, as weeds in our garden, but the fact is we're in an upland, Skyline is in an upland meadow. It wants to grow grass. And by leaving some clumps of grass, not only are we saving ourselves some headaches, we're letting the landscape do what it wants to do, we're also providing, not really providing, it's almost like we're leaving the food source and the habitat for the wildlife that already lives here. It's always, for me, it's always exciting and empowering when a community can take ownership of a spot and make it the way they envision it. That's very rewarding. But I think it really does, so much of it comes down, particularly for this community, into what sort of educational opportunities can we offer the kids? And how can we make the outdoors an extension of the classroom? And I mean, when I've worked with, we've got now a service group, like the middle schoolers actually have a service block in the morning, and it's always fun to have them out here. It's kind of, barely controlled chaos, but I think they really get into it, and I know that I always like having a break from being indoors and in the classroom, getting outside and getting some exercise. It helps me think better. Well, I'd say one thing is I think one of the girls was talking about how earlier they had found a salamander under a rock. And I think, when I think there'll be a lot going on in this landscape that we're just unaware of. And so sometimes when you get active and you start to explore it, then you start to discover what's going on. And you realize that how much is happening just right outside your front door. Like, I really never thought that I would be digging up salamanders on this slope. Which in part tells me, okay, then we really need to replant those areas with areas that are good for them, because we've really disturbed their habitat that was working for them. And even though we're taking out invasives and we're going to try to put back natives, you know, it's going to be, we're traumatizing where they're living. But as far as a good one that also for kids, I guess I just always think back to, you know, how it got started with the removing of the ivy. We had, it was an after-school program, the outdoor club that we'd started, and we were like, well, let's remove this ivy. And no Ivy League came, and they looked at it and they said, oh, sure, this will take about 4 hours. Well, it was ivy that was like, probably had been there, oh gosh, it could have been growing there for 50 years. And it was sun-baked, and it was there was a mat of ivy a foot thick, and then the roots below the ground were another foot thick. And we had no idea what we were going into, but the kids are all gung-ho, and so that first day, they had bags, and we were like, okay, well, we'll break into teams, and we'll see how much we can collect, you know, how much each team can collect. And they really got into ripping down ivy off of the trees. It was like, free the trees. And it was their energy that made me say, hey, this works. You know, this is something I wanna do and be part of. And really, that energy is part of why I've put so much energy into it.
A few years ago, prior to there being an AmeriCorps member here, Skyline had some parents and some staff that wanted to work on reducing their waste footprint, particularly in the cafeteria, because that's a place where there's a lot of room for change. So about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, they implemented the durable tray and silverware program. And with the help of the district, they got the trays, and they had a silverware drive to get the forks and spoons. So those were all donated. They're all kind of a mishmash to kind of get the durable piece started, and they've been doing that, you know, since then. And I coordinate making sure that we have middle schoolers around. They do that. They wash the trays and the silverware every day at the end of lunch. That's part of their community service time, and they all have to do that. So we just kind of rotate through all the different kids. The food service, that's part of actually a partnership with people in our community. The kids put all their fruits, vegetable, and grain-based things into the chicken bucket, and dairy and meat that doesn't seem chicken appropriate goes to the pigs. The chicken scraps go to our one of our kindergarten first grade teachers. He has chickens at home, so he just takes it when he's done at the end of the day. And then the pig scraps go to a woman who works in the church across the street from us. She has pet pigs, and so she works right here, and just comes every day and picks up those scraps. Alright, what did you have for scraps today? And an apple. And an apple, alright.